So one thing that's inevitable in the NFL is players getting injured, and sadly, some have worse luck than others. One of those players with awful injury luck has torn his ACL twice in 2 years, and after just 9 carries in 3 games his rookie year, went down with another season-ending injury, and on top of that, is now set to miss the entire 2025 season as well. So I've got to dive into that unfortunate situation, a starting quarterback dealing with the injury bug himself, more context around the George Pickens trade, and more right after. Alright, first up, now that the dust is starting to settle on the George Pickens trade from Pittsburgh to the Cowboys, we do have a couple of updates worth talking about. According to Calvin Watkins, he covers the Cowboys for the Dallas Morning News, Pickens is excited to join Dallas and that the unsettled quarterback situation in Pittsburgh had him nervous. He said that Dak Prescott was an attraction for him and that playing with CD will benefit him. I'm not sure what his production is honestly going to look like this season, but he's never played alongside a true number 1 receiver before, and he should in theory have less attention on him than he did in Pittsburgh, so Lamb flying around out there will most likely benefit him indeed. Calvin went on to back up what we already knew yesterday, which is that even though Pickens is on the final year of his deal, he has no desire for a contract extension right now and is willing to prove himself. I mean, if you ball out this year in a brand new system alongside a proven wide receiver 1 and CeeDee Lamb also out there getting attention, you will most likely cash in pretty big next offseason if you show maturity, growth, and how you conduct yourself on the field during high-stress moments. And the last thing from this post was that Pickens has, quote, tremendous respect for Mike Tomlin, and I don't necessarily doubt that, but it was interesting to read, especially after multiple reports came out yesterday suggesting that Mike Tomlin was ultimately the one who pushed for Pickens to be traded. Steelers insider Mark Kaboly appeared on a local Pittsburgh radio show yesterday and said, quote, "What's surprising to me is, from everything that I've heard, Mike Tomlin was the one that was in front of this all." He wasn't the only one with that claim either, as Gerry Dulac, who works for the Pittsburgh Post, said that Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin were behind the deal. Ultimately, I think Tomlin was probably sick and tired of the penalties and the behavioral issues and decided it was best for the team to move on. And then, obviously, they get a 3rd-round pick for him, so why the heck not? Some tend to believe that things really boiled over in Week 13 of last season when he got 2 unsportsmanlike penalties in the same game, and afterwards Mike Tomlin told the media he's got to grow up in a hurry. What's interesting to me though is that after the DK Metcalf trade, both Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan laid out their plans to pair both of these guys together in the offense, so I'm assuming there was probably some dialogue this offseason between Tomlin and Pickens behind the scenes that we don't know about. Maybe Pickens told them he wanted out, especially if the report about him being iffy on their quarterback situation is true. That's obviously just speculation from me, but trying to read between the lines here. Either way, here we are. The Cowboys got their guy to pair with CD, and the Steelers got rid of a very talented player, yes, but a guy that was seemingly becoming quite the headache in that locker room. So one headache is out while another, at least to their wishes, is coming in soon. That, of course, would be Aaron Rodgers. Gerry Dulac believes the Pickens trade won't affect whether Rodgers signs with the Steelers, and Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reported that the two sides have remained in contact, but there's still no deal to report. I still expect an Aaron Rodgers announcement that he signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers to come here sooner rather than later. Something that has been reported, though, is that Tyreek Hill has gotten his 2nd wrist surgery of the offseason. He initially had surgery back in February to address a wrist injury that he played through during the entirety of the 2024 season. Then just a couple days ago on Tuesday, he posted these pictures of him in a hospital bed to his Snapchat with the caption, "Mission successful." This surgery was reportedly to remove screws that were recently placed in that previous surgery, and this has been the plan all along, and it's not supposed to affect his timeline to be a full go for this upcoming season or anything like that. So we'll see if this helps him bounce back from what was arguably his worst season as a pro since his rookie year back in 2016. You could argue 2019 was. He had 23 less catches and 100 less yards, but he missed 4 games with a shoulder injury that season, whereas last year he played in all 17. The wrist injury on top of Tua missing 6 games with that concussion definitely didn't help, but we'll see how the 31-year-old wideout responds to that down year this upcoming season. Another player dealing with an injury this offseason is Saints quarterback Derek Carr, but unlike Tyreek, this one caused him to miss the last 4 games of the season. What we didn't know, and apparently the Saints didn't either, is that Derek Carr also had a shoulder injury he was dealing with that could threaten his availability for the 2025 season. Apparently, he thinks this happened on the same exact play he hurt his wrist on, but he hurt the wrist on his throwing arm, so he didn't actually start throwing until the wrist recovered, and that's when he noticed all the shoulder pain. So while some people, including Diana Rossini, threw out the idea that Carr could be fabricating this injury a little bit, and this is his attempt at controlling his situation and his potential future with the team, Derek Carr said otherwise. He spoke at a church a couple weeks ago and addressed those rumors, saying the injury is indeed real. He got an MRI, has the imaging to prove it, and has remained in contact with the team the entire time. Apparently, Carr is still weighing out whether he wants to get shoulder surgery or not. He's reportedly hesitant because he's had surgery previously done to that shoulder or arm before, and of course, that's his throwing arm. Jen Slater of NFL.com shared that, and also the fact that he's been to New Orleans twice in the past few weeks to meet with the doctor at the team facility, and they're taking everything into consideration. Slater also reported there's no timeline on a decision, but one is expected sooner rather than later. If Carr does in fact need surgery and he ends up missing some or all of the 2025 season, their quarterback room isn't exactly expected to light the world on fire here. They have Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener, who both filled in for Carr at times last year. Neither of them looked great here. Let's just call a spade, but it was both of their first times starting in the NFL, so you can't really knock them too much here. Neither of them are expected to be franchise quarterbacks by any stretch of the imagination. Somebody they do hope can turn out to be a franchise QB, though, is Tyler Shuck, the man they drafted 40th overall a few weeks ago. It's not often you see a second-round rookie quarterback get a chance to start out the gate, but if Derek Carr does end up getting surgery, he might be their best option. I imagine they'll go into camp with it being a quarterback battle, though. I think Shuck will have to earn the job, and it won't just be given to him. In fact, he might even start the season on the bench and maybe work his way into the starting role. It's all hypothetical, though. For now, we'll just have to wait and see what Derek Carr and the Saints decide to do in terms of his injury. And unfortunately, the injury news keeps on rolling here because the Panthers are placing running back Jonathan Brooks on the PUP list, which means he's going to miss the entire 2025 season. He tore his ACL in his final year of college at Texas, was then drafted by the Panthers in the second round of the 2024 NFL Draft, with the expectation being he would miss a little bit of his rookie season as he recovered. Well, he did finally make his debut in Week 12, but in just his third game back, he tore the same ACL again. 2 ACL tears in 2 years on the same knee is obviously very tough to overcome, which is an extremely unfortunate start to his NFL career. The tear happened early on in December, and since it happened so late in the season, they are surprisingly already pulling the plug on his entire 2025 season. I mean, the fact that he has torn the same ACL twice definitely plays a role here. The typical ACL recovery timeline is 9 to 12 months to return to football, so the fact that they decided to place him on the PUP list this early means they just aren't confident he's going to be ready, and are also probably trying to play it very safe, giving him an 18-month to return timeline so he can make sure he's 100% good to go for the start of the 2026 season. Another possibility is that Brooks has already faced some sort of setback in his rehab and they don't want to risk it at all. 1 ACL tear is serious enough, but 2 on the same knee has to be absolutely brutal. Personally, I'm gutted for the guy and hope he's able to defy the odds and still have some sort of a productive NFL career. He had such an electric 2023 season in college before his injury, averaging over 6 yards per carry in his 3 years at Texas, so I'm rooting for him, but with Brooks out of the picture this season, I still think the Panthers' running back room is in a decent situation here. Chuba Hubbard will take the main workload and honestly had a great 2024 season with nearly 1,200 rushing yards and 10 rushing touchdowns, both career highs. He did suffer what I believe was a grade 2 calf strain that cut his season 2 games short, but should be good to go for this year. They also signed former Cowboys running back Rico Dowdle, who had over 1,000 yards with Dallas last year, and then they drafted Trevor Etienne in the 4th round. Yes, Travis Etienne's little brother, and he missed 3 games during 2024 season with Georgia, but he still had nearly 1,000 yards from scrimmage and isn't even 21 years old yet. So combine the fact that he's a quick and shifty back, albeit a bit undersized, I think the running back room for Carolina looks to be in pretty good shape, and honestly, it feels like they've been preparing to enter the season without Brooks for some time now. Somebody we probably won't be seeing ever again in a Panthers uniform, though, is going to be pass rusher Jadeveon Clowney. The Panthers released the 11-year vet just 1 year after signing him to a 2-year, $20 million deal last offseason. He finished the season with just 5.5 sacks, so nothing fantastic, and the team opted to move on from him, which will actually free up over $7 million in cap space for them. They did draft Nick Scorton in the second round, who has a lot of potential to be a solid edge rusher for them. So I think once they drafted him, the writing was on the wall for Clowney, whether this year or next. He's been quite the journeyman throughout his career, honestly, spending his first 5 years with Houston, but since 2018 has played for 6 different teams, and it's about to be 7, assuming he signs somewhere ahead of this upcoming season. So yeah, with all this injury news floating around, make sure to let me know your thoughts on it in the comments down below, especially Jonathan Brooks having to miss a full NFL season. It's just such a tough break for that guy. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on that in the comments down below. And with that, I'll see y'all next time.